easiest way to start dropshipping isn't what you think, because it's all about focusing on.
If you're following the traditional dropshipping path, the truth is that
Once you realize that, everything changes for your business.
and I wish I knew this before I started, I would have made a lot more money.
Now, I get it, everyone is looking for shortcuts, but after making over £5 million in sales, I can safely say that Welcome to the Dropship Unlocked podcast. I'm Lewis Smith, the founder of Dropship Unlocked, and with me is our client success coach, James Eardley. Now, when we're not recording podcast episodes or running our own e-commerce businesses, you'll find us helping aspiring entrepreneurs launch their own high-ticket dropshipping stores. So if you're ready to build your own 6 or even 7-figure online business, then head over to dropshipunlocked.com/start. Now, sit back, relax, and let's unlock your potential with the Dropship Unlocked podcast.
Today, we're going to be breaking down the easiest way to start dropshipping today. And we're going to clarify some misconceptions that might trip you up along the way. So, Lewis, a lot of people believe dropshipping is an easy way to start an e-commerce business, but there is a lot more to it than that. It's not just about setting up a website, pushing a few products. So when it comes to actually choosing the right type of dropshipping, specifically for ease, what should people be focusing on?
Yeah, well, you'll have heard us say that we believe high-ticket dropshipping is the way to go if you're looking to make a meaningful income and do it with fewer orders, without the complexity, without all of the admin and the hassle of having to have thousands of orders, all of the logistics that are required for a business like that. You can actually make some quite smart decisions early on in your journey to select a model that fits into the lifestyle that you ultimately want. And we believe high-ticket dropshipping, so selling products that are higher priced, more premium, and with a therefore more premium price tag attached to them, makes your life as the business owner a lot more enjoyable down the line, and also serves your customers well as well. So one of the other ways that you can simplify the business that we talk about, the HomeTurf Advantage model that I've used since 2017, is using domestic suppliers. So using suppliers who are based in the same country in which your customers are based in. So when we say domestic, we mean in relation to your customers, because the advantage this gives you is obviously the fast delivery, avoiding those long delivery times and just reducing the amount of customer interaction that you have to have, because people aren't saying, where's my order? Why is it, not arrived 2 weeks later? And if you can partner with suppliers who already offer this, who are in the same country as your customers, who have those premium products at the higher price points and are already dropshipping, it just ensures that you're slotting into a system that is already functioning. You haven't got to reinvent the wheel, and you can just benefit from it from day one. That existing demand that's already there, you can tap into that, and you have a business that is viable right from the start.
There's certainly a few traits like that make it so much easier as soon as you go into this type of dropshipping. Previously, I was trying to do the traditional dropshipping route, and if I had done this from the very start, I'd have made a lot more money, because initially I was trying to find products that were only like 30 or 40 pounds each, or $30-40. And so every time I made a sale, it would maybe net me about £15, £20 profit. So I needed to make a significant amount of sales to make my target income. And when you make a significant amount of sales, you've got a significant amount of customers to look after. You've got a significant amount of orders to fulfill, the deliveries to arrange, and it's a lot harder work. But you have to really go through this. And when I came across the Dropship Unlocked Masterclass, Lewis, it was like mind-blowing for me that actually it was easier to sell high-ticket products than it is to sell low-ticket products. Why do you think so many people are in that mindset when they think about an easy dropshipping, that they should go for cheap products that they can find on AliExpress, find a dropshipping supplier, and start setting up Facebook ads the same day? Why is it not obvious that that's like harder in the long run?
Yeah, what's the expression? Common sense isn't that common. Like when you think about it and looking back, hindsight's a wonderful thing, right? You think, well, of course, it would be easier to sell products with higher margins. Maybe it comes down to a sense of self-belief and self-worth from early stage entrepreneurs and people who've never run businesses before and think, okay, I'm going to create a business. Oh, but I don't have experience. So why would anyone buy expensive items from me? And you forget that you're going to be doing the same thing regardless. The value and the price of the product isn't correlated with your experience as an entrepreneur. You're just opening a shop. What you sell in that shop is almost secondary. So think of it that you're starting a business, you're starting a shop regardless. What you then stock the digital shelves of that shop with is up to you. So make that decision consciously. Don't just sell the first thing that, some site markets to you as an easy business model, because there seems to be like a low perceived barrier to entry. The barrier to entry is the same, if not harder, with selling cheaper products, because you then have to try and make it work financially, like you said, and squeeze your profit margins down and make it work with ads. If you can just make 200, 300, £400 profit on every sale that you make, you actually create a lot more buffer, and therefore it's actually easier as an early stage entrepreneur and someone with limited experience, because you've built in that margin for error, that buffer for you. So yeah, I think it's probably down to just misconceptions, self-belief, noise on social media, people touting the low price model because there's no barrier to entry, and that, well, they say there isn't. And they say that that anyone can do it, because it's true. Anyone can go to AliExpress, Temu, open up an account and then just chuck a load of products on a store. What they don't tell you is that later on, you'll end up getting your account suspended, or your customers will complain. You'll make no profit on the orders that you make after ad spend. Whereas if they were honest and they were like, if you're someone who's willing to make a phone call to a supplier, maybe go and speak to a supplier in person and actually put yourself out there, you're way better off creating a defensible business that does have a little bit of a fence around it, that will stop the dabblers from entering that market, because the people that would never pick up the phone to a supplier or never, go and see a supplier are therefore never going to enter that market and be your competition. So yeah, I think it's probably to our advantage, right, that people don't go straight into it.
Definitely to our advantage, because most people's mindset, like you say, mine was as well, was to go after cheap products that I could easily start selling without having to get on the phone to a supplier. But that means that there are hundreds, thousands of these stores selling the same products. Whereas when you go into the high ticket game, you've suddenly separated yourself from people that aren't taking it that seriously, who are just going straight to low ticket items. But I think there's something we need to touch on here, Lewis, is that when we think about easiest dropshipping methods, people often start and think about how easy is it to start, and then they don't think about the longer term gain or the longer term reality of what it's like to run that business once you've got it up and running. So, because we've run dropshipping businesses for years now, we know the reality is that setting up a dropshipping store isn't easy. It may be simple steps to follow, but it isn't an easy business. There's no get rich quick scheme. So talk to me about what you think about the reality of it is like with dropshipping, and talk to me about the way that you would get into dropshipping if you were trying to do easy, but not just easy in terms of setting up, easy for the long term.
Yeah, it's funny, like if you relate this to offline business. I was chatting to a friend recently who's probably in his 60s and has his own business, like a transport business, right? So he's got couriers. They do big transportation for like business to business things. Now he set up his business years ago himself. He was the guy doing it. He was like leasing the trucks, hiring the drivers, getting everything going. And now he's passed on the business to family members who now run that business. And he's like just living his best life, like just enjoying his days and just doing whatever he wants, playing sports, playing golf, and is the business owner. So on the surface of it, you could look at that and say, like, did he start an easy business? Or did he put in a hell of a lot of work early on so that he could have an easy, I'm saying that word like it almost in jest, an easy life later? Because yes, he's created this amazing life, but he front loaded that work. He put that work in. He took that risk initially of hiring those drivers, of getting that warehouse, of probably entering a business that he didn't have much experience in, and believing in himself. So the same is true here with us. Like, are we looking for an easy business from day one, where like we can just click a few buttons and go to AliExpress and Temu and upload a few products, and then like, oh, it's all really easy, but then creates loads of headaches later and isn't really a business that we can live off? Or are we looking for a business that actually creates an easy life for us eventually, but might require some foundational hard work that we can embrace initially. If you front load that work, like put the hard work at the front, of course it's going to be tough. Any business worth creating will be tough to do. Otherwise, there'd be no barrier to entry and it would be flooded with competitors. So yes, we've got to get over that initial hurdle that separates all the people that, will never put in that effort. But once you do that, as I say, it's pretty quiet at the top, because that initial perceived burst of effort that's required just makes so many half-hearted entrepreneurs fall by the wayside, because they just don't have what it takes to get over that initial front-loaded hurdle. And the way I think of it is, it's going to be hard either way. Would you rather condense that difficulty into a short time frame and front load it, or would you rather just have a really hard life from now until you retire? Because it's, you almost can't choose. Well, you can choose your difficulty, but it is going to be difficult either way. So ultimately with this, it's a business. There's no such thing as an easy business. It takes consistent effort. It takes having the right mindset, and it's not a get rich quick scheme. Don't fall for that trap. If someone's telling you that it's going to be easy, be very suspicious of what they're selling. But building a successful dropshipping business, just like any other business, whilst it's challenging, just remember, if it were easy, everyone would be doing it. And if you can take that approach, that long-term delayed gratification approach of, I'm going to put in the work now because later I want to have a life where my team run the business, the hard work initially was done, I got over that hurdle, and now I'm able to reap the rewards from it.
I think it takes that longer term approach to understand that the launch phase or the startup phase realistically lasts, 2 months, 1 or 2 months, when you're building a website, signing suppliers and launching. But the duration of time where that business is up and running and making you an income, we're still running the businesses that we started. I started mine 4 years ago. And so that's been a lot longer of a phase than my initial 2-month startup phase, or however long it took to get live with ads and start making sales. So realistically, what you need to realize is everyone's so quick to think about the 2 months of setting up and what's going to be easy now in the first 2 months to get up and running, when really the mindset shift is thinking more long term and realizing that the duration of your business is going to last a lot longer than the launch phase. So if you can think about what's going to be easy after the launch phase, and that's going to give you a lot of help. Why do you think people are naturally more inclined to be thinking about the short term, the launch phase, rather than the long term phase?
Yeah, so it's funny, if you think of like a graph with the x-axis along the bottom of time, right? So time throughout now until, the end of our working career. Most people, in a job that they work hard in, that they're always vying for promotion, trying to get a pay rise, trying to work their way up the ladder, are probably hovering around, I don't know, like a 5 difficulty, something like that. Like, they're not really pushing themselves, but they're also not kind of coasting. They're just like doing what they need to do to hit their targets. Maybe it's a 6. If you start a business like this and someone says to you, okay, it's going to be an 8 or a 9 for a few months, you're going to have to really put in the effort. But then after that, it drops to a 2 for the rest of your career. Occasionally, it might jump back up to a 4 if you have a problem and you need to bring in a team member or hire someone or redesign a website or something. But then you're back to a 2 because you're a business owner and you've front loaded that work. You tolerated that 6 months of 8, 9, 10 difficulty, right? But it was fun. You enjoyed it, but it was difficult. Versus someone else who says, okay, you want to quit your job? Here's a business model that's a 2 from day one. So your graph starts now at 2. You're like, oh, I can drop from a 6 down to a 2 and be a 2 forever. It's like, no, it's a 2 now, but it will jump up to like a 9, 10 later, because you're going to be inundated with problems and dilemmas. So it's almost like you can't escape the numbers. Like the units of difficulty that are going to appear along that graph are the same. It's just whether you choose to absorb them now or kind of push them into the long grass and like kick the can down the road for later. It's going to catch up with you. So that's the way I view it. Is like, do the foundational work properly to start with, so that you're not repeating yourself and having to like reinvent it all later. And yeah, I guess that's why people go for the easy option often, because they're lured in by the like, oh, I can drop down to a 2 difficulty on the graph. Like, fantastic. I'll just do that and quit my job and everything will be fine.
Yeah. And people tend to set their goals 3 months in advance, or this month I'm going to do this, or even just this week I'm going to build a store. And so then they're thinking about, what can I get done in a week? And I had this feeling constantly when I was building my first business of a rush on my mind constantly of I just want to be live, I just want to be making sales, I want to quit my job ASAP. But I wish I had taken a step, and I was taught this lesson when I went wrong and I failed my first few dropshipping businesses. And I had to come into the masterclass to realize that front loading the work is a completely different way of looking at things. Because yes, you have to voluntarily put yourself to a harder level of difficulty than you would have been on when you're just in a job only, because you have to do the job as well as run the business. But with the long-term approach, knowing that eventually you hire a VA, your ads are running and profitable, and the store can be managed for you, like it has been now for like over 3 years since I first hired my VA. And yeah, it's being able to see the longer term vision of when you build a business rather than focusing on what you're going to have to do right now. But on this topic then of people that have come to this video and were like, I want to build the easiest possible dropshipping model. We still believe this is the easiest way of dropshipping, but it's just flipped on its head. Not right now. It will be easier in the future. So why do you think it's easier then for people to do the work up front rather than in the long term?
Well, just zoom out. Just literally, if you look at your life as a timeline, zoom out when you're asking the question of what's the easiest business model. Don't think what's the easiest way to make money this week or next week or this month. Like there's loads of ways you could do that then fall flat on their face 2 months in and you're back to work in the job. Zoom out and say, okay, now what is I hate the word easiest. I think it's the wrong way to look at it, because you should enjoy and embrace the challenge and the difficulty. But there's no doubt that the difficulty drops once you have systems in place, once you have a VA virtual assistant hired, once you have your ads running. You can go and chill and live in Bali like you're doing right now and just lay back and be by the pool and really like essentially live the life that I talked about my friend living, where he's just enjoying his retirement whilst still owning the business. So it's almost like he's not retired, he still owns the business, but he's just not in the business and hasn't been for a few years now. And so I think, yeah, if you're thinking about what's the easiest way to build an e-commerce business, zoom out a little bit and look at the holistic view and ask yourself, okay, before I answer that question, over what time frame are we talking? If you want a long-term sustainable business that's going to be around for years to come, do you really want to mark up cheap widgets from China and hope that you can keep that arbitrage profit level difference going for years into the future? I think the way the world's going, it's unlikely that that's going to last for too long before you get swamped with competitors and before they start selling directly to customers. But if you're working with reputable UK brands selling products that are £1,000, £2,000 and netting 30% margin on that, you're clearing £600 profit in every sale. Those retailers, those suppliers, their route to market are retailers. They have partnerships with retailers that have been around since before the internet existed, and they will continue to do so. So you're just slotting into a proven existing business model where you're the business owner. And I would argue in the long term, that's the easier option.
But I agree that the term easy has so many different connotations with it that isn't the reality. So perhaps you've come to this video because you've searched easy way to start dropshipping. And I think the first thing to address is if that's what you're searching for, if you're looking for the easy way to make money, then there's a lesson for you here is that you'll have to grow yourself. You'll have to go through difficulties. There will be challenges. For you to achieve goals that you've never achieved before, you'll have to become a person that you're not at the moment. And that takes pain because you have to go through the growth and you have to learn new things and be open to things. So think about the way that you're approaching dropshipping and understand there's going to be work involved either way. There's going to be work involved if you don't succeed and you go in a 9-to-5 job for the rest of your life. But if you choose to front load the work like we're suggesting, yes, it's not going to be easy straight away, but over the long term, you build a business that has so many advantages compared to others that you could rush into right now, like the low ticket dropshipping that we're comparing it to today. Give us some real tangible examples, Lewis, of things that you would do up front when you're front loading the work that gives very easy, tangible results that we can show people of why it would be easier in the future if you do that work up front.
Yeah, absolutely. And the term easy, just to address that for a second, if I had discovered an easy, quick way to make money and suddenly it was working, I would be very nervous and I would probably lose sleep over it. I'd probably struggle to sleep soundly at night. And the reason I say that is because I think, well, if I found it that easy, who else is nipping at my heels? Who else is doing exactly the same? Whereas I pride myself on the fact that I did that hard work. I did that 6 months, 12 months at a 7, 8, 9 difficulty, because that's what created my moat around my business. And I know that I put in that work that will separate me from the 99% that don't do that. And if you're in the 1% and you think, I would rather do that and put in the time now so that I can enjoy the rewards later, then I think that's the way to think of it. You don't want to be constantly looking over your shoulder for the rest of your life just because you suddenly stumbled across some easy business model. So it's like you say, it's almost the fool's gold. It's not the right thing to be searching for in the first place, because you end up worrying if you do find it. But yeah, to answer your question, like, what are the tangible things that you can be doing to start with? I mean, if you don't do the niche research up front, for example, you're going to end up having a very hard time serving a market that possibly does not even exist, because you're thinking, well, I'm passionate about these products, or, I heard from a relative that they bought something like this, so this is really a market that I'm sure will do well. And you're kind of dealing with a very small sample size, and you've taken a bit of a gut instinct approach rather than a data-driven approach. That could end badly, and does for many people who don't research and thoroughly validate the niche markets that they're going into. So that's an example of some of the hard work. People are like, I find it so hard to pick a niche. And I'm like, well, yeah, it can be time consuming, but you go through our niche validation criteria, where we've got like 9 different criteria and all of the walkthrough steps on how to do it. It's like, yes, it can be time consuming, but you'd rather do that and be sure that you're building a business on solid foundations, rather than just kind of go with the first one that you see and do it on an instinct and just hope that it works. The other thing is, like, if, for example, if you don't build your MVS, your minimum viable store, you could have a very difficult time signing suppliers later, because say you didn't do the hard work of building the website. When you go to suppliers, they're going to say, okay, show us your presence then, like, show us who you are as a business, and you won't have anything to show them because you didn't front load the work. So it's all of that stuff. It's like the research, the build, the, setting things up the right way, having your business bank account, your limited company, your ad accounts working, your retargeting, like, those things take time, and there are steps to do it. They're not necessarily complex, but they just take time, and they just take a willingness to learn. And the list of that stuff goes on and on. But if you don't front load that work up front, then yeah, you're probably going to face a lot of difficulties along the way, because you're constantly searching for shortcuts.
Exactly. That's why I found it so beneficial to have the masterclass to follow when I built my business, because I knew that it was all set out sequentially. There was a reason for the things I did early on, because it would come to fruition later in the process. So maybe I didn't understand initially why it was so important to have a business bank account set up from the very start. Then I got to the next stage, which was signing up to having my professional email address and my professional phone line, and I had a business bank account to pay for those subscriptions. Or I set a limited company up first as soon as we went through the process, and that meant when I signed suppliers, I had my legal entity in place. So it all makes sense, but for a reason, you've got to do the hard work up front to get yourself in the great position to capitalize down the line. And so that's why having that approach of front loading the work gives you an easier life down the line. So you have to have a bit of a longer term vision, because there's no shortcut to success in business. Now, before we wrap up, I think it's important that we mention another episode for somebody that's looking to have more insights about how to avoid common traps, like searching for easy dropshipping. So those people that want to avoid running into costly mistakes, we've made an episode all about that, which is episode 101 of the Dropship Unlocked podcast. And that's called the top 5 dropshipping mistakes that will cost you thousands. So, Lewis, to wrap up on this topic today, do you have any final thoughts for anyone that's looking to start their dropshipping journey?
I'd say start small. Make sure you're setting up the right foundations as you go. Be very clear on what your vision is for the business and for your life. It's about long-term consistency. Don't look for the short-term, easy, quick wins necessarily. Like, those are there, but will they last? Probably not. And just be patient. That delayed gratification. Be prepared for a tough start. There are some difficult chapters in the early stages of the journey, but trust the process. Take inspiration from the people who've been through those phases and shared stories in our, success story podcast episodes we've done recently, and the results will follow. So be willing to go through that, zoom out, look at the bigger picture, ask yourself, do I want a long-term easy life, or do I just want the easy quick win now? And if you want to get started and you'd like our help to do so, head over to dropshipunlocked.com/start, where we've laid everything out for you right there.
Are you enjoying the podcast? We'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment or a review and we might feature it in an upcoming episode. And for detailed show notes and resources, visit dropshipunlocked.com/podcast.
If you found value in any episode of this podcast, please could you take just 10 seconds to leave us a quick 5-star review on your favourite podcast app? It helps us more than you can imagine. And who knows, you might just hear your comments read out on the show. Thanks for being a part of our community. Your support helps us keep delivering new episodes to you every week.
Now it's time to answer a question that we've received from a listener of the podcast. So if you have any questions that have come up while you've been listening to today's episode or watching, all you need to do is comment beneath the YouTube video version of this episode today. Not only will it be answered in the comments, but it may also be featured in an upcoming Dropship Unlocked podcast episode. So that's exactly what Danny Wheatley has done. So Danny Wheatley, author on YouTube, has asked, "Love this. Do you have videos that show how to set everything up? I'm a complete beginner with a small budget to start with."
Thanks for your question, Danny. And absolutely, yes, we do. We've got loads of content on our YouTube channel to help you set up your e-commerce business using our HomeTurf Advantage model. We break down the entire process step by step, everything from finding suppliers to setting up your store, getting started with high-ticket dropshipping, using all of the steps that we go through. And if you're looking for a complete structured guide, then the best place to go to is probably head to dropshipunlocked.com/start. And that's where we lay everything out for you, guiding you through what to do next and making it very easy to follow whatever your budget is, Danny.
Perfect. Looking forward to seeing you inside, Danny. Okay, thank you, Lewis. Now it's time to highlight a recent review that we've had for the podcast as well, because if you leave a review for us, we want to give you a shout out. So that's exactly what Paul Haynes has done. So Paul Haynes, who I know is in the program, Paul Haynes 7522, he shared his thoughts recently and said, after watching one of the previous success stories that we had on the YouTube channel and on the podcast, he said, "Well done, Steve. Love your tenacity and very inspiring."
Yeah, I totally agree with your comment, Paul. It was a great conversation with Steve and he's going to do very well. So excited to continue following his journey. Thanks very much for your review as well, Paul. We really appreciate it and glad to hear that you've been enjoying the podcast. So thank you for listening today. If you enjoyed today's episode, maybe share it with a friend or a colleague. It's a great way to spread the knowledge and help someone else on their e-commerce journey. And we appreciate every bit of support that you give us.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Dropship Unlocked podcast. We hope you are leaving with new insights and inspiration to fuel your entrepreneurial journey.
To kickstart your e-commerce business, head over to dropshipunlocked.com/start. It's the perfect place to start and get access to resources that will help you build your business from the ground up.
And don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more episodes packed with strategies, tips, and success stories. Plus, if you enjoyed this episode today, a 5-star review would mean the world to us, and you might even get a shout out on the next episode.
Thank you for choosing to spend your time with us today. We can't wait to bring you more insights on the next episode of the Dropship Unlocked podcast.